You threw away the child seat mommy gave us with such care. It's divorce.
In his reddened face, my husband clenched the child seat I had just discarded. It was a gift from my exuberant mother-in-law when her first grandchild was born. However, this so-called baby gift turned out to be a terrifying gift. Is this enough? I asked, holding up the child's seat and revealing something. The next moment, my husband turned pale and trembled. I, 28-year-old Amanda Jones, lived with my same-age husband, Tom. Drawn to his gentle and calm demeanor, we married. We rarely argued and enjoyed blissful days together. To our delight, after 3 years of marriage, a new family member finally grew inside my belly.
I can't wait to meet this child.
As he caressed my expanding belly, his cheeks flushed with joy. I was confident that with him, we could build our ideal family. Yet, I had one worry about our married life.
Tonight's dinner looks delicious. Did you fillet this fish?
Thank you. But it was already pre-cut. Buying a whole fish and processing it is quite challenging.
Huh? But mommy used to fillet the fish my late dad caught. She said it's fresher and tastier that way.
One evening, as Tom commented on the meal laid out on the table, I raised an eyebrow. My concern was Tom's mindset. Although he had no other flaws I noticed before we got married, he turned out to be a classic mama's boy. He'd often bring up his mother, saying her cooking had more substance or their home was tidier. I was initially surprised. I felt it was inappropriate to compare me to his mother, so I would gently remind him each time. I'm not your mom, it's rude to compare. Yet, even after 3 years, he didn't fully grasp why this behavior was problematic. It seemed he genuinely didn't understand what was wrong.
Sorry. I just remembered the past.
He must have sensed the shift in the atmosphere. As Tom hurriedly apologized and began eating, I sighed softly. Compared to when we first got married, my husband has improved somewhat, but he still makes these kinds of remarks unexpectedly. To make matters worse, my mother-in-law adores her precious son. And she doesn't seem to care for me, the one who stole Tom from her.
Hello. Amanda. I received something nice, so I'll give it to you.
One day, my mother-in-law Sylvia suddenly visited our home and handed me a well-packaged box of lobster. With an insinuating smile, she held it out, and I shook my head, feeling frustrated. I'm sorry. I've mentioned this before, but I can't eat lobster.
Oh. But I brought it all this way. You don't have to refuse. How rude.
Amanda has a shellfish allergy. Mommy, you're still forgetful.
Unaware of Sylvia's feigned sadness, my husband patted her shoulder with a smile. Then Sylvia looked back at him, in high spirits.
Is that so? Oh dear. Amanda. I apologize. Shall we enjoy this together, Tom and Mommy?
Despite her cheerful tone, Sylvia shot me a wicked grin. Before this incident, she'd intentionally brought me crabs I couldn't eat or criticized my lacework, claiming it lacked taste. She'd been subtly harassing me since the beginning of our marriage. And because she did it behind my husband's back, even when I tried to explain to Tom, he defended her.
Honestly, Mommy doesn't mean any harm.
I sighed yet again, watching Sylvia and Tom chat happily. Fortunately, we lived a bit apart, so her visits were rare, and I could still tolerate it. However, everything changed after I gave birth.
Oh my. Such an adorable child. Looks just like Tom.
A few days after delivering a healthy baby boy, Sylvia visited the hospital with a sparkling expression. Clearly, the existence of her first grandchild thrilled her. Despite never offering me a word of sympathy, she visited the hospital daily, bubbling with excitement.
I want to choose a name for this child. I've come up with several options.
As she pulled out a notebook and began enthusiastically discussing names, I felt thoroughly exasperated. Meanwhile, my husband, naturally, welcomed her with joy rather than caution. Thanks to this, even after leaving the hospital, she continued visiting our home almost every day, eager to see her grandchild's face.
Liam. You know. There must have been a better name. But
we put a lot of effort into choosing a name.
Sigh. Well, at least the fact that this child doesn't resemble you is a relief.
It seemed she was dissatisfied that her suggested name hadn't been accepted. No matter how much I explained that Tom and I had already decided beforehand, she remained unconvinced and grew to dislike me even more. She'd say hurtful things behind my husband's back, like, "You'll never be a good mother," or, "This child is unfortunate being with you." It was exhausting. With the added stress of first-time parenting, enduring this daily became unbearable. And despite my struggles, Tom would happily share stories about his mother, which only fueled my frustration. Building a happy family like this is impossible, I thought. Determined to find a solution, I decided to take action. But just then, a decisive event unfolded. It was a weekday afternoon, and I was at home with Liam when my mother-in-law, Sylvia, paid her usual visit. She handed me a large box, which, from the photo on it, appeared to be a child's seat.
This is a belated baby gift for Liam. Please use it. We wouldn't want anything to happen to dear Liam, would we? Well, I have some errands to run today, so I'll take my leave here.
Uncharacteristically, she promptly left after I accepted the gift. While I appreciated the gesture, past experiences left me suspicious. Could she be up to something? As I examined the box more closely, I noticed unmistakable signs of prior opening. Wait. This has been opened once. With the growing conviction that something was amiss, I carefully opened the box and retrieved the child's seat. At first glance, it appeared unremarkable, but I decided to double-check by unzipping the cover. What I saw left me utterly shocked, and I couldn't help but cry out, "What on earth is this?" Without hesitation, I scooped up Liam and headed for the garbage disposal area. My purpose was clear: to discard this child's seat. Now I can finally breathe, I thought as I left the box at the trash site. But just as I was about to contact Tom to explain the situation, my phone in hand, he burst onto the scene.
Hey! What are you doing? Mommy gave us that child seat.
Startled, I turned to see my husband rushing toward me. Apparently, he'd finished work early and caught me in the act. He continued, bewildered.
I received an email from Mommy saying it was a baby gift.
His gaze shifted between the child's seat and me, as if unable to believe what he was witnessing. I'm sure in his eyes, I appeared to be a terrible wife who discarded the baby gift we had just received. My husband's face turned bright red, and after a few seconds of silence, he finally shouted.
You threw away the child seat Mommy gave us. It's divorce.
I stared at him, then retrieved the child's seat from the box. Is this enough? I asked, forcefully opening the cover to reveal its contents. Tom gasped and turned pale, trembling visibly. I've said it many times, but your mom has been unkind to me. Facing his fear, I seized the opportunity and played a video on my phone. It showcased Sylvia's various acts of harassment, things Tom was unaware of. In truth, her behavior had been so terrible that I secretly recorded her when Tom wasn't around, intending to explain it all to him. Even after seeing this, if you still side with mommy, I'm afraid I'll have to consider divorce, I said calmly. Having shown him all the videos, I looked at my husband. I'd been patient, but I had my limits. And now, for Liam's sake, I didn't want my mother-in-law anywhere near our home anymore.
I'm sorry.
At that moment, Tom, who had frozen, apologized to me. When I looked at him, I could see regret etched on his face.
I can't believe she did something like this. No matter that she is my mom, some things are unforgivable. I truly apologize for everything.
Clenching his fists, he apologized to me again, and I gently sighed with relief. As long as you understand, I'll never forgive Sylvia for what she did. With Tom finally awakened, we resolved to take action against my mother-in-law. The next day, we entrusted Liam to my parents and headed to my in-laws' house. Tom entered the living room, carrying a large box in both hands, and his slightly more dignified expression put me at ease. I had wondered how things would turn out, but despite his strong attachment to his mother, he chose to stand by my side. There was nothing more reassuring. Sylvia greeted us.
Welcome. It's unusual for you to have an errand suddenly.
Tom chimed in.
Yeah. We wanted to thank you for the child seat. Remember how you wanted a new vacuum cleaner recently?
Sylvia's eyes widened in surprise.
Really? You bought it for me? How wonderful.
As she eagerly tore open the wrapping paper, Tom and I exchanged glances. We visited my in-laws' house with a clear purpose: to deliver retribution. After all, given the way my mother-in-law had treated us, there was no way we would give her a gift. As soon as she opened the box, her scream echoed through the living room. And no wonder. It wasn't a vacuum cleaner inside. It was the child seat she had given us the day before, covered in a multitude of maggots.
What kind of sick joke is this?
She exclaimed. I confronted her as she frantically closed the box. Of course, neither my husband nor I had orchestrated this. When I checked the gift, the maggots were already swarming beneath the cover. In other words, these maggots were her intended gift to us. We initially considered discarding it, but then we thought we'd replace the box and return it to you with the zipper open. How does that feel? My mother-in-law exclaimed, her voice shrill. But she had the audacity to plead innocence, shaking her head. Her gaze shifted toward Tom, seeking his help. However, Tom was no longer the son she remembered. He had changed.
Such excuses won't work,
he said quietly, staring her down. Clearly caught off guard, she opened her mouth in shock. Taking a deep breath, Tom continued.
I visited the fishing supply store where Dad used to go. The manager confirmed that you had purchased a large quantity of maggots.
Perhaps she never expected her beloved son to turn against her. Wide-eyed, she seemed on the verge of saying something, but Tom's stern expression silenced her. And, as if to drive the point home, Tom glared down at her.
Tell the truth,
he demanded. Stiffening, My mother-in-law eventually slumped, defeated.
But Liam is so adorable.
She stammered. It seemed her love for her grandchild had grown to the point where she wanted to see him every day, even raise him herself. So, without my noticing, she decided to send us a child seat infested with maggots. Even so, why would you endanger Liam like that? What if he got seriously ill? I retorted.
Before using the child seat, when the maggots multiplied inside, I planned to pretend I discovered it.
According to her, my management was sloppy, and she couldn't entrust me with this responsibility. She even intended to use this as a reason to take custody of my son. Unbelievably, she intended to steal Liam away from me by sabotaging the child's seat. Unbelievable. How could such a plan ever work? I shuddered at my self-centered mother-in-law's thoughts. It seemed she was willing to endanger her grandchild if it meant getting her way. I had no intention of dealing with such a dangerous person, and certainly, Liam would not be meeting her. Enough. I don't want to see your face anymore. Don't ever come near our family again. Unable to bear it any longer, I stood up, and she stared at me, wide-eyed.
You mean you won't let me see my grandchild?
Suddenly, her face turned pale, and she clung to us as we tried to leave.
This was just a momentary lapse. I apologize. Please forgive me. Tom, surely you understand Mommy's feelings, right?
Realizing she wouldn't see Liam, she suddenly turned to tears. But Tom, with unwavering eyes, said,
I've seen through it all. Your harassment of Amanda was terrible. Now, what matters is our child and my wife.
He had changed, and he brushed her aside.
This is absurd. You're abandoning me?
She wailed, trying to cling to me. I pushed her away too. You brought this upon yourself. Reflect on your actions. Without looking back at her, Tom and I left her house. Since then, Tom hasn't uttered the word mommy. It seems he has completely cut ties with his mother, even deleting her contact information.
I'm sorry I didn't notice before. From now on, I'll definitely make both of you happy.
He apologized sincerely, acknowledging that he hadn't noticed her behavior before. Tom now actively helps with household chores and parenting, determined to make us happy. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law couldn't let go. She continued visiting our home, pounding on the door and shouting.
Let me see my grandchild.
But Tom didn't hesitate. He reported her to the police. After explaining the situation, a restraining order was issued against her. As a precaution, we moved, severing all ties with her. Tom, who has grown even more dear to me, and our adorable Liam, we're determined to build happiness together.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time.